of the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee to order. I did see that Ms. Dole posted this down on the bulletin board and I sent it out, so there was proof of notification. We do have a quorum present. We have everyone here in the room except for Mr. Seep, and he's online, and then Ms. Rudersdorf is not here. So we have a quorum. We can do our business today. Agenda item number 3, agenda approval. We've got a 9-point agenda today. Looking for a motion to approve. Motion by Frank, second by Brewer. Motion by Cosgrove, second by Brewer. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. We have an agenda. Agenda item number 4, public comments. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the committee today? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to agenda item number 5, approval of minutes. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the September meeting of this committee. Okay, motion by Glassburner. Second by Brewer. He beat you, Linda. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, we have approved minutes. Agenda item number 6, ethics review. Second to pull these documents up. Okay, so just to review, at our August meeting, we looked at our current ethics ordinance. That's attachment A. We looked at state statute 19.59, which allows a local ordinance regarding ethics to be implemented, and it can apply to public officials, including elective and appointed officers, and that's in attachment B. And then attachment C, those are the ethics ordinances from Crawford, Iowa, and Sauk counties. So we looked at those in August. Last month, we reviewed the layout of the chart in this document. We generated reasons we might want to revise the county's current ethics ordinance. We probably spent almost not quite half of our time doing that, but we talked about a lot of real life examples. And then we made recommendations for policies regarding closed sessions and contracting to be included in a new draft ethics ordinance. So the chart, I made some edits to the chart based on the feedback that you all gave last time. So I added headings for the introduction, subjects, and process. And then I also added a new column that includes recommendations made by the committee at the September meeting. So if we look at page 2, the first new heading is highlighted in gray. That's where it says introduction. And there are 3 categories under introduction, or topics: governing body, purpose of ethics, and positions covered. And we skipped those last time. Yep, Mr. Brewer. Oh, I'm under 06 ethics review. Absolutely. It looks like Mr. Langrick's got this up on the screen too. So page 1 is introduction, and if you scroll down, I said page 1. I should have said page 2 because I did add page numbers. So page 3, you'll see subjects also highlighted in gray. And that's where we started our work last time toward the end of this discussion item at our September meeting. So we talked about closed session. You can see the language in the far right column that we adopted by motion in this committee. And then same with contracting. We had also a fairly lengthy discussion about contracting. We made it more brief than Crawford and Sauk counties example, and that language is over in that right-hand column as well. So I also added a row for email policy, because I know Supervisor Gentis brought up the issue of personal email versus county email. So it's just there as a placeholder. I didn't find any, I don't think any of those other counties have email addressed, but we can address that at some point. So unless anyone objects, I think we can just jump in and try to handle hopefully at least a few more of these today. So the next one is financial interest policy. So our current ordinance says we can't have, and it does not apply to everyone. It just applies again to employees. Doesn't apply to county board members. The highway commissioner is exempt. There's a couple other positions exempt. But today's ordinance says that employees cannot have a financial or other personal interest which is in conflict with a proper discharge of their duties, or disclose or use confidential information concerning Richland County to promote a private financial interest. So in Crawford and Sauk counties, their example is more lengthy. It says a member of the county board who has a financial interest in any proposed action before the county board shall disclose the nature and extent of such interest to the county clerk and the county board prior to or during the initial discussion of such action, and shall refrain from participating in the discussion and or voting on such action. A member of the county board shall request to be excused by the board or committee chair for the duration of the deliberations concerning such action in which the member has a financial interest. Any other official or employee who has a financial interest in any proposed action before the county board and who participates in discussion with or gives an official opinion or recommendation to the county board shall first disclose the nature and extent of such interest to the county board. And in Crawford County, they defined what does financial interest means. It means any interest which yields directly or indirectly a monetary or other benefit to the county officer or employee, or to any person employing or retaining services of the county officer or employee. Pretty lengthy. Yeah. Iowa County. Yeah, Iowa County made it more brief. They said a county official who has a substantial financial interest in a matter pending before the body of which they are a member shall disclose the nature of the interest. The disclosure shall be made on the record before the body, or if there is no formal record, in writing to the body. So you'll notice instead of creating two categories, one county board members and another employees, they combine them all into county officials.
Members, is that what, or is that the sheriff's department or the sheriff's elected officials? How's that term?
If someone wants to look in 06C to see how those other counties defined official, that'd be great because we can read that off. I think it's everyone. I think county officials is a big bucket, and then employees and county board members are two separate buckets.
Okay.
Or two subsets of the bigger bucket, but maybe someone can find that.
Chair, I just have a question, because, am I on?
Yeah, you are on, yeah.
Okay, so you first said that this didn't have to do with county board, and then the second part has to do with county board. Why does it not have to do with county board?
So with the two examples I read from Crawford and Sauk
Yeah, I
County,
read those. They did include county board.
they did include county board.
Yeah.
Iowa County,
No, wait, but when you started the conversation today, you said this does not include the county board under current ordinance.
that's correct.
Okay, so we're changing this maybe.
Possibly.
We have not addressed that topic yet, but I think that's implied.
Yes,
that we would,
okay.
we would be doing that.
So I think that one is rather lengthy, but I do think that we should have where you shouldn't be part of the, you should disclose it. I don't know if you have to tell everything about yourself, but you should not be part of the discussion or the vote.
Okay, Supervisor Glassburner, do you mind reading county official? This is the definition from Iowa County, I believe.
I'm assuming so because C says board shall mean the Iowa County Ethics Board. G, county official shall mean any person holding a county elected office. So that would not include employees.
Okay.
The Crawford definition is on the screen underneath paragraph 5.
Do you mind reading that?
Sure. All county department heads or directors, county supervisors, and all other county elected and appointed officers except judges and district attorneys.
And again, that was Sauk County?
This, I believe, is Crawford.
That's Crawford, and so they have a separate definition for employees. Okay, so I was incorrect.
I believe this is Crawford. Let me scroll up here just to make sure.
Yeah, it says
Okay,
it,
okay.
yeah, okay. Okay, so other thoughts from folks?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah.
noticed that both the examples we have here, Iowa and Crawford, neither one of them prohibits doing business with the county. They simply say, disclose it, and then you shouldn't talk about, shouldn't be in the discussion, probably shouldn't vote on it. And I think I know the reason that it's written that way, and that's because you may have only one provider of a service the county needs in the county, and they happen to be on the county board. So they've left enough leeway there. Tell us about it, and then we'll handle it the way we see fit.
Yeah, this goes really well with the conversation we had last time about contracting. The language we adopted allowed someone to enter into a contract with the county
Right.
up to $15,000 in a year, or several contracts totaling $15,000 in a year. So this would mean that, say to use the example we used last time of Supervisor Manning, if there was some sort of demolition job that he wanted to bid on, if we adopted this financial interest policy, he would just have to announce his conflicts before the discussion started, and then refrain from the discussion and the voting. If we use the Crawford-Sauk County example, Iowa County, it looks like they don't address the voting issue and the discussion issue. It just says they have to disclose it. So I think that's kind of the option before us. Do we want people who have a financial interest to be able to take part in the discussion and the voting, or do we want them to not take part in the discussion and not take part in the voting?
Yeah, I like the idea of them taking part in the discussion only because they may be the industry expert that is reflecting that information to the members of the committee. You know, and I get that the discussion is important. The voting part of it, you know, I'm challenged by that, but if we're making a decision on roads or construction and someone has that interest in it, well, yeah, they may be our only good source of industry expert.
So Supervisor Luck wrote to me and asked if I would come to the Land and Zoning Committee to talk about short-term rentals, because she knows that I own 2 short-term rentals. So after reading all these, I said, no, I'm not taking part in that. There are a lot of other people who have short-term rentals. So I'm not saying we have to do it that way, but I just thought personally, well, then people would say maybe I'm trying to sway the discussion to not regulate short-term rentals because I have a personal interest. So that's where it was coming up for.
And there again, your knowledge base in that, yeah, there's probably a lot of people that are doing it, but you then have that unique knowledge base of, yes, you have short-term rentals, and yes, you're in the government elected position, so you have the knowledge of both to help them make a decision. I would want that information. Would I want you voting on that information? Probably not, but that's.
That's true, but in this case, there were many, many people who had that information other than you. And I think we're discussing that there may be few people in the county that have certain information or certain businesses. So it's sort of a gray area there.
Could there be a stipulation in there that they could be involved in the discussion only with questions from the county board? So for example, in your example, that person wouldn't add their own personal opinions, but let's say Bob had a question and wanted to ask them something specific, then they could answer those questions and be part of the discussion in that way. So it'd be limited.
And I think that you could simply add the words unless invited after refrain from participating in discussion unless invited, or of and or voting on such action. So you'd have to have it before the voting part.
Okay, anyone else?
I don't feel they should be able to vote. That's just my personal opinion, but like he said, it'd be good to ask them questions about their expertise.
Okay, so maybe can we look at the, and what about employees? maybe discuss that also, and then we'll see if we can craft out a.
Did we ever discuss whether we were having separate policies for, was that at our last discussion? Maybe I just don't remember. Were we planning on combining this all into covering employees and county board or other county officials, or are we leaving what we have for county employees and this is something else?
So last time when we had the discussion, if you scroll back up to contracting policy,
Mhm.
we said that our policy was an official or employee or a business in which an official or employee holds a 10% or greater interest may not enter into a contract with the county or the formation of a contract or contracts with Richland County involving the receipts or disbursements of more than $15,000 in a year. So we included both
Okay,
groups.
so it looks like we're heading towards a policy that includes all. So then in that case, I think we need to specify, and I don't love just using the term county official. Even if we had it defined to include, I think I prefer how we wrote it in the contracting policy, an official or employee.
Got it.
I don't know.
Mr.
What do you guys think?
I like that as well.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Okay, Mr. Cosgrove and then Mr. C.
No, I was agreeing with Ingrid's statement. I don't know why we would want to exclude employees. Is there any reasons why we would want to exclude them?
Right, I think we're talking about any proposed action before the county board. Say an employee giving I'm reading from the bottom of the Crawford Sauk County example, giving an official opinion or recommendation to the county board shall first disclose the nature. So say we had, an employee who was, owned their own excavating business, to carry that example forward, in the highway department, and they were advising the Public Works Committee on an excavating contract. Well, they probably should have disclosed, if we adopt this policy, they should have disclosed that even if they're an employee. So in my mind, it makes sense to have employees be covered too.
Yeah.
Mr. Seep, and then.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think it's very important to have definitions by category. I think, there's a difference between an official and an employee and a department head and so on and so on. And I think it's very good to have at the beginning of each chapter or each section on a rule that there be clear definitions of the terms involved, because people can be nuanced sometimes.
And I think at the last meeting, I remember Supervisor Glassbrenner mentioning she liked having the definitions up front.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the ordinance. So I think that's where we're headed. Let's put that on the table for now, or on the shelf, and then we'll pick it back up at some point, because we're going to have to pick our definitions. But I think for now, it's pretty clear that the committee in general thinks employees and officials should be included, and we're just going to have to define each one at a later point. Okay, Supervisor Glassbrenner.
I was just wondering if there's a way we could make the Crawford Sauk example a bit more succinct.
Okay, do you have any ideas?
I mean,
Sorry.
but this is the problem. It's so wordy that even trying to make it more succinct is difficult, which, yeah, I just think it's too wordy.
What if you use the Iowa County example, but instead of saying just a county official, just insert the words a county official or employee? And then we need to add something about voting. What if we start with Iowa County and just amend that
Right.
one?
I was thinking along similar lines. And I mean, we've talked about, so in the contracting policy, thought we had, oh, I guess we didn't. I thought we had one where we actually talked about voting or not voting, but I guess we did not. Didn't in the contracting.
No, yeah, this is the point now where we can talk
Right.
about voting.
Okay.
So what if we, I'm going to take a shot at it here. Let's look at the Iowa County example. Let's say I'll start reading and I'll say where I'm trying to insert words. We'll see if this works. A county official, and I'm inserting, or employee, who has a substantial financial interest in a matter pending before the body of which they are, a member shall disclose the nature of the interest. Disclosure shall be made on the record before the body, or if there's no formal record in writing to the body. A county official may not vote on the matter.
Okay, sorry, just to pause you there. I noticed a couple things. If we include employee, it then says before the body of which he or she is a member.
That doesn't work.
So
Right?
that doesn't work. And then the second thing is, just looking at, I'm not loving the word substantial.
Correct.
I feel like that's pretty vague. When, I mean, the Crawford County just has financial interest.
I don't like it because substantial could be defined in so many different
Right.
ways by so many different people.
Makes sense to me.
And I also don't know, is it really necessary to say how the disclosure is made? I feel like we could strike that and then just go into the whether they vote or not, or discussion. Right. Well, no, they just said before the body, like in person or in writing. And I don't know. I feel like that's splitting hairs. Right.
Microphone.
Supervisor Gentis, I think your mic is off now, it sounds like. You could just repeat that,
And
please.
from the disclosure side of it, I think there needs to be something, because do I disclose it to another member of the committee? Do I disclose it to the chair? Is that sufficient? And then the chair is supposed to say something? And I think there needs to be something that identifies what the purpose of that is.
Well, we could,
Could it just be to the body? I mean, if we're talking about a specific body, so whether that's,
Okay, Supervisor Gentis, can you repeat what you were saying earlier?
Well, I think they should be separate because the employee is not a voting member of the body, and it's getting very confusing to combine the two. And also, when we're talking about financial interest, maybe this will be a different one, but I know that Mr. Seep has excused himself several times because he had a daughter working at one of our places, and we were voting on that, and he told him right away, and sometimes he even left the room when it was of course, when it was a closed session, but it's getting confusing, I think.
I think what you're saying is probably why Crawford County's is so long.
Oh, we're back to Crawford County.
Because, I mean, they first discuss county board and then they go down to any other official or employee, so it just.
Okay, let's look back at that one and see if maybe we need to stick with the longer example.
What if we had subpoints, like a topic heading and then an A and a B, one for an official and a. I know that's probably just an organization of it, but it reads easier in my mind if you separate it out a little bit.
Yeah, the Crawford Sauk County example, it doesn't always work because a lot of times we're in committees when things are being discussed and it says they should disclose the interest to the county clerk. And that seems a little odd if the clerk isn't, he's not at this meeting, he's not at the public works meeting or whatever it is.
That's why I like the Iowa counties to the body, because then that leaves it open to what body is specific.
Yeah.
Can I try reading what I was jotting down? And I know it's not going to be perfect. We're going to have to keep editing this. So I wrote down a county official or employee who has a financial interest in a matter pending before a body shall disclose the nature of the interest to the body. A county official may not vote on a matter in which they have a financial interest.
Sounds good to me.
I like that.
Yeah, I left out the employee because that was the voting sentence. I didn't say anything about discussion. We had the idea of that person should only discuss it if invited. Should we include that as well?
Mr. Chairman, I think so, because I can visualize a situation where my buddy, I'm the chair of a committee, my buddy has the only service, and he says, yeah, Marty, I do that. So then what do I do about it? you know, I should be able to, is he automatically then excluded from the discussion, or may I invite him to discuss? So, not vote, but discuss.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, yeah, right. Unfortunately, okay, so I'm adding a sentence to the end that says a county official may not discuss the matter with the body unless invited by the body. I could add employee, let me read that. So it would say a county official or employee may not discuss the matter with the body unless invited by the body.
A county official who has the financial interest.
You're right. A county official or employee with a financial interest in a matter pending before a body. We're going to be just as long as Sauk and Crawford County.
What if we move the discussion aspect to up, right up under the, where you said any county, like at the beginning? So you've already defined that it's with a public interest. Put the discussion part right after that, and then just do the voting portion at the end.
I think you're right.
Then you can exclude a few words at least.
I think you're right. Let me try. Let me do some moving around on my sheet here.
Ingrid
Okay.
is a wordsmith.
No, he's wordsmithing.
Well, we're all wordsmithing it. Okay. So let me read what I've got now. We'll see if this makes sense. A county official or employee who has a financial interest in a matter pending before a body shall disclose the nature of the interest to the body and may not discuss the matter with the body unless invited by the body. A county official may not vote on a matter in which they have a financial interest. A lot of bodies, but in that first sentence, I don't know if I can.
Add in a
Mis-
comma and put.
Mr. Chair, would it be smoother to simply start that out as unless invited and then include the rest of the dialogue?
It only wouldn't because now we've combined the disclosure part.
I think it sounds good. I think there's a way to get out one of those, the bodies, by just tweaking it a little.
Do we have to have the invitation come from the body? Can we just say unless invited?
Can you read that sentence again where it disclosed to the body and discussion part? Because I think there's a way to
Okay.
have only one, the body.
Okay, I'm thinking maybe let's remove the last one. So I'll read
Yeah.
the whole sentence including all three of them, all three bodies. A county official or employee who has a financial interest in a matter pending before a body shall disclose the nature of the interest to the body and may not discuss the matter with the body unless invited by the body. That was 4 times. I was wrong. I think
Well,
that,
may not participate in discussion unless invited by the body. It takes out one.
yeah,
But at least we didn't say coming through the run anyplace.
yeah, I think that one can be removed. I agree with Supervisor Glassbrunner. And potentially, what if we took off in the portion where it says that they shall disclose the nature of the interest? What if we took off to the body there? What if we kind of left that open-ended, how they disclose it?
You can get rid of a couple of those.
Let me try it again. Now I've got 2, so I'll try it again. I'm sorry to not be connected to the screen here. A county official or employee who has a financial interest in a matter pending before a body shall disclose the nature of the interest and may not discuss the matter unless invited by the body. Then the next sentence says, a county official may not vote on a matter in which they have a financial interest. That's it. We leave them out of the voting part. We have them included in the above. Okay, is anyone opposed to that? Okay, last time what I did, or I should say what I did yesterday morning is I rewatched the last meeting. I made sure to type it just as we ended up with it into this document. So I'll either do the same thing unless my notes survive. And they don't always survive. So that's why we have the videos. Okay, so I need a motion to approve that is our financial interest policy to include into a new draft of an ordinance.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Cosgrove,
I'll say.
second by Gentis. So any further discussion? Does anyone need me to read it again? Okay, all those in
Oh, sorry.
favor of
It goes red all the time.
the motion, please say aye.
Hi.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. So we have financial interest policy included now.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
are we gonna leave the definition part till we do the definitions?
I was thinking we would just jump and look at it right now.
Okay.
So the financial interest definition, that's at the bottom of page 4 and the top of page 5. So in Crawford County, they say any interest which yields directly or indirectly a monetary or other material benefit to the county officer or employee or to any person employing or retaining services of the county officer or employee. And then Iowa County, they have a much shorter one and they reference state statute, and I have not looked up that state statute. So what about that Crawford County example?
Mr. Chair, is, when we say financial interest, are we referring back to our contracting policy or are we expanding it beyond that?
So this is more broad
Okay,
because it doesn't say in the Crawford County example, unless we include some sort of exemption, that it has to be above a certain dollar amount.
okay,
This basically says any, whether you get money or other materials, either directly or indirectly, you have to disclose it.
okay. And I think the Crawford County is referring to a portion in their own ordinance, so it should be on, I'm looking. What was the number? 701 what?
21. Yeah, 21. That's Iowa County. And they say S, so I thought that meant state statute, but you're thinking it means ordinance?
Well, it said by this ordinance, but then when I'm looking at it, maybe you're right.
Okay, is anyone opposed to the Crawford County definition? Okay, if not, why don't we get a motion on the floor for that and we'll make that official.
I make a motion that we adopt the Crawford County example for our financial interest definition.
Okay, motion by Fleming,
I can second that.
second by Glassbrenner. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. So let's move on to gifts. This one is covered in our current ordinance. It says no gifts may be accepted by people who have dealings with Richland County. And then, of course, all the other examples are much more detailed. So in Crawford County, it says no official or employee shall accept any valuable gift, whether in the form of service, loan, thing, or promise, from any person, firm, or corporation which, to their knowledge, is interested in business dealings with the county, nor shall any such official or employee accept any gift, favor, or thing of value that may tend to influence them in the discharge of their duties, or grant in the discharge of their duties any improper favor, service, or thing or value. And they have an exception, and the exception is it's not a conflict of interest for an official or employee to receive a gift or gratuity that is an unsolicited item of insignificant value or anything which is given to them independent of their position as an official or employee. And maybe if someone looking up the definition of a, or is that below?
Below.
It's below. Okay, so on the top of page 6, they have an equally long definition of a gift. The definition is any money or property, favor, service, payment, advance, forbearance, loan, or promise of future employment, but does not include such things as compensation and expenses paid by the state or county, fees, honorariums, and expenses, unsolicited advertising or promotional material such as pens, pencils, notepads, calendars, informational or educational materials of an unexceptional value, plaques, other advertising giveaways, or any other thing which is not likely to influence the judgment of individuals covered by this code. I couldn't have come up with that. That must have been created by a group of people.
I think it's too long. I,
We then define it, $100 or more.
I,
Next story.
and I think, yeah, $100 or more, we maybe need to define our definition just a little bit, directly given or something, and that covers it. Because as Marty, so you're at the parade of lights and somebody gives you a pencil or a cozy, you're supposed to say, I'm a county board member, I can't take this. I mean, it's a bit silly, isn't it?
Well, yeah, they did not include beer koozies
Yeah, I know.
in their definition. So yeah, you're right. You would, unless it's covered under anything else of insignificant value.
It also says any valuable gift. Well,
And what's
that's
that?
subjective, yeah.
I guess I wonder about, before I think we said in a calendar year when we were talking about contracts. So I wonder if we should say something about a calendar year. I mean, what if someone was, and this is an example, when I lived in Minneapolis, I remember a city council member accepted money from a developer in exchange for a vote in favor of that developer being able to build on a certain parcel in Minneapolis. But, if a developer is handing $99 payments, every month over the year in exchange for a county board member's vote, wouldn't that be slipping around it? So wouldn't we want to say in a calendar year?
Perhaps just include something about influencing their vote, because I think all of these definitions, the 3 examples you have, reference that in some way.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, employees don't vote though. So employees might make a decision to grant a permit, for example.
Okay, how about actions? Not just voting. I think
Votes
that
for
was in Iowa
actions.
County. Iowa County says influence official actions or judgment.
Should
And
we-
then Sauk County says influence his or her vote, governmental actions or judgments.
That probably covers it a little better.
Mhm.
Yeah, Supervisor Gentis.
I was gonna say in an elected term, although, I mean, we can't really, after you're done with your term and somebody pays you a lot of money, I don't know how we follow through on all these things.
Well, then you're no longer a county official at
Right.
that point. It wouldn't apply.
You can take the money then.
Yeah, but if you already voted.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's a promise, and that's maybe why they say promise
So I
in
think
other
promise
situations.
is important, so.
Well,
No, just the promise, I think.
and maybe,
And for and during elected term, because 1 year doesn't really.
and maybe the Iowa and Sauk County examples, maybe we should look at those. But yeah, how do we monitor all this? We'll get to that later when we talk about process, because I don't think we're monitoring it. I think we're receiving complaints.
Oh.
So if someone chooses to make a complaint about an issue,
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Mr. C.
I think there is possibility of another element to this, and it would read something like this: no county official or board member shall accept a gift or a favor that may be construed monetarily from an employee or another official of the county.
Can we read the Sauk County example just to see how people feel about that one? So that one says an official or employee shall not accept from any person or organization directly or indirectly anything of value without full payment if it could be reasonably expected to influence their vote, governmental actions or judgments, or is provided to such official or employee because of their position or office and could be reasonably considered as a reward for any governmental action or inaction. It does not define, maybe we need an exception in there like Crawford counties. There's exception said it's not a conflict of interest for an official employee to receive a gift or gratuity that is an unsolicited item of insignificant value or anything which is given to them independent of their position as an official or employee. And then maybe we just need to keep our definition of, insignificant value is seen as less than $100 in a calendar year, or something like that.
Can I ask on that definition? I just don't know if I'm not quite understanding. It says anything of value without full payment. What does that statement mean?
Well, what if I was hired, what if I bought hay from somebody for my cows? And usually it brings $40 a bale, but they sold it to me for $20 a bale because they wanted me to vote a certain way.
I see.
I think that's what that means.
That's-
That would
Supervisor
be
Fleming.
conflict, that would definitely be wrong.
Yeah, it's Supervisor Fleming.
Yes, the Sauk County example also doesn't include the promise, like Supervisor Gentis mentioned, like a promise of something in the future.
Which
So I think
one,
it's very good, but it doesn't include that promise part.
which one did include the promise?
The Crawford County,
Extremely wordy, Crawford County.
Okay, so we could
we
maybe
could
just
just include that
insert the word promise somewhere in the Sauk County example.
there. There, they just said form of service, loan thing or thing of promise.
Wouldn't the directly or indirectly potentially cover that? Rather than having to include all of that, you could say you should be able to infer from that that you can also not accept a promise.
Or what if we just inserted the word or promise after anything of value without full payment?
But then it kind of leaves it open. Do we need to define all of the other things that Crawford County defined? Which was in form of service, loan, thing, or promise.
Oh, I see. It was in the definition down below. Well, and maybe
No, it's actually in their policy as well.
it is in the
Mhm,
policy as
yeah.
well. Got it.
Right toward the beginning.
I see.
I mean, I'm not opposed to putting it in. I'm just wondering if that's opening up for a lot more like, oh, well, this didn't quite fall under it 'cause we didn't define it.
Money, property, favor, service, payment, advance forbearance, loan, or promise of future employment. That's what Crawford.
What if we just put it in the
Promises.
definition? We didn't include it in the policy, but in the
Yes, I
definition.
agree.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what
Mhm.
we do.
Right.
Yeah, we add that definition to our definition.
Mhm.
Okay, so what if we, is anyone opposed to me reading the Sauk County example again, just to see if we could adopt that, and then we'll read, an amended gift definition?
I'm not, but the only thing I would say is Sauk County does not define gift and their policy does not actually use the word gift.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Seat.
I firmly believe that no county official or county supervisor should receive any gift whatsoever from an employee of the county or another official of the county. Any gift or favor whatsoever, because there's always the eventuality that that county board member may be put in a position where he or she may have to vote on an issue which may affect the benefit or the detriment of the employee who arranged the favor or arranged the gift. I firmly believe that we need to address that.
Okay, what if we insert the word gift into the Sauk County example, and then we define gift down below, and we pull some of those examples of gifts from the Crawford County definition into ours, and then let's hold Mr. Seep's thought on the whole employee thing. So what I'm thinking here is, what if we enter the word gifts? If you go to the Sauk County example, I'm thinking of entering it. I'm just going to read it, and then I'll tell you where I'm thinking of entering it or inserting it. An official or employee shall not accept from any person or organization directly or indirectly a gift or anything of value without full payment, if it could be reasonably expected to influence their vote, governmental actions or judgments, blah, blah, blah. And then in the definition part, I'm thinking we define gift as any, this one I'm a little, I don't quite know how to do this one. Do we want to define a gift? Let's just read the Crawford County example, just the first part of it. Let's just leave the $100 out of it for now. Any money or property, favor, service, payment, advance forbearance, loan, or promise of future votes, future employment or votes. What if we add or votes in there? And then we could say a gift or anything, we could add something about market value of $100 or less if we choose to do that. It's tough because we got to think of the examples where you're at a conference and, you know, you're picking up, you know, the pens and the pencils. We got to somehow include that. But yeah, to Mr. Seep's point, you don't want an employee handing $50 to a county board member to vote in favor of a pay raise for them or something like that too.
You also want two employees to be able to go out for lunch and one of them to buy the other one lunch for their birthday or that kind of thing. Or, you know, you don't want those kind of things to be where people feel it's an issue. Of course, it wouldn't probably be the $100, but I mean, if they did it several times throughout the year, it could add up to that.
What if,
I don't know how you would distinguish that, but.
You could make an exception for a shot of scotch.
Nope.
Okay, Ms.
what if we
Glassman?
just didn't include the money value? Because if we're saying in the definition that it would influence their vote, then that's going to exclude things like you pick up pens and pencils at a conference, because that's not expected to influence your vote on anything. But and then we wouldn't have to get into the whole, okay, and are they making payments over a year? Is it within a year? You know, it's just, is it going to be expected to influence your vote?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Gentis and then Mr. Seep.
I know I get too nitty-picky. It just occurred to me, you know, that advertising is the whole point of influencing you. I don't mind picking up, but I know that I have two doctor friends who won't take any pen or anything from any pharmaceutical company because they don't want the name of that in their brain to be influential for drugs or what. And I'm not trying to get nitty-picky, but there are reasons for some of those things.
Yeah, and like MSA, I think they're a contractor with the county. They probably have a booth at the county's association. Could you be expected that their free gifts are going to influence our willingness to vote for them as a contractor for the highway department? I think that's kind of maybe where those doctors are going. That's our example. But Mr. Seep?
yes, Mr. Chairman, I think small matters like pens or pencils or calendars I don't think that's makes any common sense to restrict somebody who's going to a conference from picking up those kinds of things. I think if we're talking about having a drawing where they're giving away a television or a computer, that's another story. But so I think that the way to deal with that perhaps is to set a monetary value to it.
And, you know, I hate to do this, but the Crawford Sauk County gift definition does cover this. It does list out the exceptions. It does not include compensation, fees, honorariums, expenses, unsolicited advertising, promotional materials such as pens, pencils, notepads, calendars, plaques. So I think that it does not include the money definition in theirs, but it does really kind of cover all the examples we can think of.
That we've been talking about.
That we've been talking about. So I'm wondering, what if we just insert the word gift in the Sauk County example and then define gift as use the Crawford Sauk County example of the gift definition, just leave the money out of it. Because then that would cover Mr. Seep's example of an employee giving a county board member something that could be expected to influence their vote. So let me just read the Sauk County example with the gifts word included. And I don't know if you've noticed, I've been changing the pronouns just to make them simpler so we don't have to say his or her all the time, I'm just saying their vote. So an official or employee shall not accept from any person or organization directly or indirectly a gift or anything of value without full payment if it could be reasonably expected to influence their vote, governmental actions or judgments, or is provided to such official or employee because of their position or office and could be reasonably considered as a reward for any governmental action or inaction.
Without full payment to whom?
Yeah, what's that mean?
I think you can just leave it up to your imagination with that one.
Why not just leave it out?
Well, because of the example that
The example with
you
the
said
hay,
with the hay.
yeah, the hays and the cow, that example. Okay, so let's get a motion on the floor then for that example as I read it, inserting those two words. A gift, or 3 words, I guess.
That motion.
Okay, motion by Glassbrenner. Who's that? Cosgrove, second by Cosgrove. Okay, all those in favor of the Sauk County example being our gift policy with a gift or being inserted, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. We've got a gift policy. Gift definition. So I'm gonna read, do I have to read the Crawford Sauk County example? Didn't I insert though, after or promise of future employment or vote? I did insert that there. Now we
already have that in
we
the,
have that in the other one. You're right. Okay, so let's see if we can get a motion on the floor just to accept the Crawford County, Sauk County gift definition.
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Gentis,
Seconded.
second by Fleming. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. So I think we're good. We got through, what did we get through today? We got through 2 more. That's pretty good. Financial interest and gifts. So next time we'll move.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Mr. C.
we have not talked about favors per se. Favors are different somewhat than gifts, may be interpreted, I think, as gifts.
It's in the gift definition, Mr. C. It says the one that we just adopted, any money or property, favor, service, payment, advance.
Oh,
forbearance,
okay,
or loan.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's in there. It's good. Okay, so next time we'll start with nepotism. Everyone's favorite topic. Okay.
Not related to too many people.
Let's move on to agenda item number 7, comprehensive plan review. Thanks everyone for your great attention to detail on that. I know it takes a lot when we're wordsmithing as a group like that, but I think we did pretty good together. Okay, so last meeting, we gave everyone homework to review the comprehensive plan. And we have not only the comprehensive plan, we have 2 copies in the room, by the way. We've got one sitting by me. We've got one sitting by Supervisor Gentis. No one can take those, by the way, except the people who brought them. And then we also have the presentation that Supervisor Glassbrenner gave at the August meeting, and that's attachment A. So what I thought we could do today, Mr. Seep, I'm sorry you couldn't make it in person. It's going to be challenging for you to participate in this.
Well, I have a pretty bad cold and I don't want to impose myself on your committee.
Okay. So let's see, we have 7 of us in the room. So I think this is enough. I think this is enough to do it. Mr. Seep, you're just gonna, I think, just have to listen to this.
I'll try to be a good listener.
Okay. So what I'm suggesting, and Mr. Langrat, can you pull up that document that I emailed you? This is not in your folder. No, we can certainly add it to the folder. It's pretty brief. But we need to get to the point where we're writing a scope and a budget. I think when we start talking comp plan, we think, well, what are we gonna do? This could be anything. And where's the money gonna come from? How much money is it gonna cost? So in order to figure that out, I was thinking that what we could do is just a brainstorming activity where we think about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats regarding just the comprehensive plan. So it's gonna take just a little bit to get organized. I gotta pull out a few materials, but if you could just go to the next slide. Okay, so what I'm thinking is, what do we mean by each of these? I wrote down a definition. Strengths, I'm thinking, what are you glad to see in the comprehensive plan? Weaknesses, I'm thinking, what things drive you nuts about the comprehensive plan? Opportunities, are there people, resources, organizations, departments, businesses, or other entities, et cetera, that could help update our comp plan? And then threats. What are the external forces that will make it difficult to update our comprehensive plan? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everyone through a brainstorming activity where we basically come up with different ideas, we group the ideas, and we vote on the ideas to come up with what's our biggest strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And doesn't mean that, we can't have multiple ideas out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass around Post-it notes to each person. So each person take one pad of Post-it notes. Each person on the committee, so there's 7 of us. Pull that out of its package. Okay. So by yourself, we're not going to discuss any of this. Just write as many ideas as you have. If you need the paper copy, you've got a paper copy. You've got things electronically on your iPads as well. Say you can think of 4 good things about the plan, 4 strengths. Write each strength on a separate Post-it note. Don't combine all the strengths on one Post-it note. And then at the top of the Post-it note, or somewhere on it, write an S or strength so that you remember it was a strength, because you're going to do the same for each category. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you might end up having 15 Post-it notes by the end. You can write 1 weakness. If you can only think of one thing, you can write 5. It's all up to you. And then I'm going to put, in the meantime, or I might ask Cheryl to help me a little with this too. We're going to put some posters up around the room. And once you get done, I'll tell you what to do. And some of you might already know this.
The nominal process, yeah.
Yeah, it's the typical process for figuring out strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Oh, okay.
Post-it notes,
So once you get done. So once you get done writing all your ideas down on Post-it notes and don't, I'm not trying to rush people. Take your time. Take your Post-it notes and put them up on the posters around the room in the categories they go in.
we just doing strengths and weaknesses now, Sean, or can we?
Also opportunities and threats, all four
Okay.
categories.
All right.
That's all that was on. Actually, after I get the budget thing done, I know we're in it. I'd like to November, like really read it again, you know? We have more time. I know. Crawl under the table. They can come through. Somebody wants to walk through.
Sheriff's Department is trying.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
You're welcome as long as you bring lunch.
Trade the safe passage for a sandwich. To our gift policy. Yeah.
Right.
Not if we cut it into bite-sized pieces.
K-9's probably back there, so you can eat.
Okay, so, while Bob's putting his Post-it notes up, this is good. We have a lot of good ideas. You can see there, that we are county board members because we have a lot of things to say. So, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna split into groups now. So we'll have 2 people at each poster. We've only got 7 people in the room, but Clint or Cheryl, whichever one of you wants to volunteer, you'll go with the county board member who doesn't have a partner. And what you should do, I'm going to give each group a marker, is you should group the strengths. I'm going to use strengths as an example. You have about 25 strengths listed here. And what the two people at the strengths poster need to do is they need to put them in categories so that we know what the themes are. So just start moving around the Post-it notes and put them in categories. Do the same thing, whichever poster you're at. And then once you have your categories decided, take a marker and draw lines in between the categories. So, you know, say all 7 of these Post-it notes go together, put a line right here and label what that category is. And then once every group is done with that part, we'll go around and we'll hear what the categories are. Then we'll do a voting activity with those stickers I put at your tables. So feel free to just pick whichever one. You know, if you're really into weaknesses, then go over there. If you're really into opportunities, go over there. Just go where you want to go and I'll make sure everyone's got a marker. But if 2 people are already there, you cannot go there. You've got to go to a new poster.
Going there, I'll go over here.
That's for you. Doing it too. Just so long as it's fairly.
I could just. All done. All done. Everybody's done with theirs, and then we do some kind of.
County board on the dress.
What's that?
County board.
I know.
Mario was-
Sometimes we think we're our own worst enemy, right? Yeah, no, because we're gonna vote on there, and we'll want that on there too.
So I'll wait till the end.
Yeah, wait till we vote. Yeah, then that'd be great if you stop.
Oh, you had it. Yeah,
Oh, there's still.
I didn't have it in my hand.
Y'all done?
Yeah.
Like a friend, like if these guys go.
We did too. We had 3.
We limited it. Should have called someone.
We didn't know there was a half option.
Of what?
No.
To it, so we had 1.5 people, I don't want to say.
We had 3.
We're gonna wait for Mark. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have each group give us a quick overview of what their categories are. So we just need one mic at each group, and both people don't have to go up there. Only one person has to go up there with their mic and explain what their groups are. Now, as people are going through their groups, think about how you would vote, like what you think the most important is. What the most important subcategory is within each category.
So I guess I'm starting with strengths.
Go ahead, yes.
All right, so
Thank
we
you.
might as well get this over with. So we broke ours into 5 different categories, a lot of comments on the amount of data that was brought up. So our main category here is data and the data collection process. The next section, not quite as many related to environment. We kind of grouped it into that. There was some agricultural, natural resource comments in there. So we kind of melded it into that. A few comments on goals. So we put that down as vision. And then a section on community support that included diversity, housing, healthcare, some things like that. That's our community support section. And then the last section we came up with is services that included some parks, education, and some things like that, services in the area. That's our breakdown.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so Supervisor Glassbrenner or Cosgrove on weaknesses?
So we had several categories here. One was just some ideas for things that are missing in our current plan, some elements that are missing. We had several comments on the implementation of it, or the that no one's using it, or how do we implement it, etc. We had quite a few comments on its usability. Again, some of that kind of related to implementation, but some was just of the document itself, it being bulky or not being able to use it in an online format, etc. The length, of course, came up. Most of those said too wordy. And then these 2 categories here were somewhat connected, and we really struggled on how to define them. We had several comments just on some challenges or needs within our county. For example, like the lack of housing, or that not all of our county is zoned. So how do we propose development? That we're a rural community. And then we also had some challenges due to our county's demographics. So for example, the aging population, ag-based economy, declining population. And then we had like 2 outliers that we weren't sure where to place.
Okay, thank you. Those are the weaknesses. Supervisor Gentis, do you mind doing the opportunities?
Okay. All right, we ended up with 4 major groups, and then we have other counties, which meant like the County Association or other comprehensive plans was an opportunity, grant funding from different areas, and then potential vendors who would help us, like several people mentioned Southwest Regional Planning, or consultants, just that. And then we had a whole long group of existing potential groups in the county that are opportunities. And that would be like cybersecurity specialists or people who are looking about changing farming with hemp or orchards or cranberries. The younger input, trying to get their input, recreational, the Red Committee, tech schools, all these potential groups that really are out there or could be out there that help us. And then we had an outliers too, and we didn't know where to put them. Realistic goals, real-time needs, we're not quite sure. Basically, it was other counties, grant funding, potential vendors, and all these potential groups that are there or could be there in our county that might really be strong possibilities.
Okay, thank you. And then Supervisor Fleming or Chair Brewer?
So ours is for the threats, and we have several categories here too. The one we just kind of lumped in, basically support from the state of Wisconsin. We also have community, so that could be community.
Make sure to speak into your mic.
I'm sorry.
When you turn, yeah.
Yep, community involvement or agreement and acceptance. Then we had one that was just labeled data, so I wasn't sure, we weren't quite sure if that meant like cybersecurity issues with the data or just needing more or less data, I'm not sure there. And then dollars, of course, just funding, grants, resources, major economic downturn, so just funding or dollars in general. And then things relating to the county board, like taking action or points of view, engaging in a online update, that type of thing. And then just time to update it, time from participants, and then of course the priority of making enough time.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Fleming. So now you each have 12 stickers in front of you on a half sheet of paper. So I'm going to propose a voting method. If you all want to overrule me, you can. So what I'd propose is that each person be allowed to vote using up to 3 stickers on each of the posters. You can put all of your stickers in one subcategory within a poster. Say you really like, you think that data is the biggest strength and you want to put all 3 stickers in the data category, you can. Or you could split your stickers up, one in each subcategory on strengths. Then the same thing for weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So how does that sound to put 3 stickers in each?
It doesn't matter what color.
It doesn't matter what color.
Sean,
Yep.
like the poster over there, I can't see it from here, but is there a big heading on? Yeah, there's a little heading. A little heading on that.
Yeah, strengths use the little headings. Sorry, Bob, you got criticized. Happens to the best of us. Okay, he's relabeling the subheadings. Supervisor Frank, were you okay with that voting method? You seemed like you were going to say something. Supervisor Glassburn is ready to get going. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Mr. Seat.
each having 3 choices, are those being ranked as 1, 2, 3, or?
No, nope, the stickers are all equal value. So after everyone gets done voting, I'm going to go around and count the votes up, and then I'll tally them up, and we'll see what the biggest strength, the biggest weakness, biggest opportunity, and biggest threat.
Vote what we think is the biggest, we can vote for 2.
Yeah, what,
3.
you can vote for 3 because you have 3 stickers in each. And I'm not going to monitor you. This is not like an election for county board chair and vice chair. It's not going to the ballot box. So this is the trust method.
it's Chad, county board.
Feel other people's.
Yeah, yeah, have you used them all?
Yeah, well,
I don't want to. I didn't want to. We heard it.
Sean, every time I put stated was.
Is everyone done voting? Okay, I'm gonna start tallying these. Someone should go around and check me because I have miscounted before.
Just help spice things up.
Okay, so we're just tallying the votes. We're halfway through here. I'm gonna read these all out once we get done and Bob checks my work. Okay, read off the votes. So for strengths, the biggest strength that this group thought we had was in the current comprehensive plan is data. That got 12 votes. The second biggest strength was the environment. That got 6 votes. Vision and services in the current comp plan, those tied with 3 votes, and no one voted for community support in the current plan as a strength. For weaknesses, thanks, Chad. So the biggest weakness looks like was implementation. Thank you. 7 votes. The second biggest weakness for the current plan was usability with 5 votes. Then challenges as far as needs of the county, we had 4 votes. Challenges as far as county demographics had 4 votes. Miscellaneous had 2, and length had 1 vote. Missing elements had 0 votes. So the biggest weakness was implementation of the current plan. For opportunities, the biggest opportunity was existing and potential groups. The second biggest, we had a tie between grant funding and potential vendors. Then the fourth category was 3 votes for other counties, and then no one voted for topics for the plan. And then threats, the biggest threat was money, of course. The second biggest threat was the state of Wisconsin. The third biggest was time. It had 5 votes. The fourth biggest was the county board that had 1 vote, and then no one voted for data, no one voted for community. So the biggest strength was data. The biggest weakness, I think, was implementation. The biggest opportunity was existing and potential groups for updating the plan, and the biggest threat was money. Okay, so those are the results. Thoughts from, we're going to leave here before noon, but let's just go around the room and give everyone one opportunity to share their thoughts after doing the activity. So Supervisor Glassbrenner. No. Supervisor Gentis.
Well, I'll go with the threats because there was a lot of different places about the money on the threats, and I think we need to look at all those different aspects, and that's something we could look into. The data, I read it, and we'll see. I don't know about that one. Over there, I do think we have a lot of potential with lots of groups.
Okay, so you generally kind of agree with the way
Yeah.
we vote, the group voted.
Yeah.
Okay, Supervisor Frank.
I do agree with the way the group voted. I think we've hit the priorities. I think what we're, I don't want to misreflect in 2 areas. Community got like 0 votes, and I don't want people to think that we're not voting for the community. This is the different sections. The community is part of this whole thing. So I just don't, that kind of shocked me when I saw that community. It's not a negative thing. I just think it's a reference to some of those things that are mentioned on the white pieces. So, but yeah, overall, I think it's on track.
And community was mentioned in strengths.
Community was mentioned in strengths. There were 3 areas: population becoming more ethnically diverse, housing, and healthcare. I think those are very important topics. And so as strengths, those things were mentioned, but nobody voted on those.
And
So.
again, strengths of the existing comprehensive plan.
Right. So those are in there. I just don't want people to think, oh, there's no vote on that. Well, yeah, it's the strength of that. And then over on threats, I think it was also mentioned.
Yes, so no one voted for community being the biggest threat.
Right. And the topics on there was community involvement, value of the project and what value it is, and then agreement and acceptance, if people would agree to accept it. So.
Okay. Supervisor Cosgrove, thoughts?
I would just say thanks for going through the exercise with the group. I don't disagree with the findings. But yeah, all elements are important of this, not just that we singled out one category. So,
okay, thank you. Chair Brewer.
I think it's very interesting that we list the state of Wisconsin as a threat. And it's a topic near and dear, and Sean can attest to this. We had 2 resolutions passed by the Counties Association regarding state funding. And state funding really right now is where it starts and ends, in my opinion. So we've got to crack that open somehow and change the formula.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Fleming.
Yeah, money and grants, of course, are the big thing. I myself haven't read this comprehensive plan. It is very lengthy, but I really like, there's a lot of statistics, a lot of information in here. And obviously data was one of our strengths, which I agree with. The only thing I would say too is that I am concerned about is cybersecurity as well.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Seat. Supervisor Glassman.
Yeah, I really appreciated the exercise, and I thought that all of them hit a lot of really important things. I think I have some strong feelings on the weaknesses, and I don't mean that to sound critical, but after having gone through it at the depth that I did, so I think the fact that I think there are multiple things in there we need to address, and the top one was implementation, and I think that by addressing some of the other ones, hopefully that will help also address that one. For example, the length and the usability, and I think there's some definite areas to be addressed in there that will hopefully also help with implementation.
Okay, thank you. The one thing I want to mention is that, I think what we can do with these results, it doesn't necessarily mean that, the top weakness, which was implementation, is going to drive the whole scope for the project. But it just means we might prioritize that over the other weaknesses when we think about what are we going to do in this scope. So I think the next step really is to draft a scope for this group to look at, and then we can compare the scope that's drafted with this activity. And did what we think in this activity today, is that reflected in the scope? So that's really the next step. So it's not to say that just because something got a lower vote, that it might not be addressed.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah, great. Mr. Seat, go ahead.
Yes, I'm unmuted now. I'm very interested in existing organizations and groups as a resource to the county. I think about all of the, as opportunities, I think about all of the opportunities we have in the county in terms of our conservation of our natural resources and the promotion of them in terms of tourism. We have beautiful rivers and streams and hills in this county, and we have a number of organizations that are all very interested and involved in it. We have a trout stream organization, and we have people that are associated with parks that are very interested in the parks and in the recreational programs of the Parks Commission. So I'm very interested in reaching out to organizations that are interested in developing our natural resources and promoting them. The people who are involved in promoting the Driftless area and the Frank Lloyd Wright facilities. I think tourism is an element of our future. It certainly isn't the only answer to it, but I think we have so much to promote in this county that we haven't been able to do in the past, partially because of finances. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for those thoughts. So what I've got here recommended today is a motion to adopt the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats findings, and use those findings to develop a scope and budget for consideration at a future meeting. So someone want to make that motion? Motion by Frank.
Seconded.
Second by Fleming. Any discussion on that motion? If anyone wants to help in advance of the next meeting, I'm assuming we'll try to do this at the next meeting, please get in touch with me. I'll probably be reaching out to a couple other counties and see if we can find some existing scopes and budgets, just as examples, so that we have those. So I'm anticipating we'll have some other county scopes for comprehensive plans to look at. Maybe they'll have to be cities if we can't find counties. So just keep me posted if you'd like to help with that. Okay, not hearing any other thoughts. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. So that takes us to future agenda items. Does anyone have any future agenda items for future meetings? Okay, you can always contact me afterward. if you think of any. And then adjournment. So we're looking for a motion to adjourn to the first Thursday in November.
I
And
move to adjourn and compliment you for a very well conducted meeting.
thanks, Don. Okay, so it's Thursday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. So we got motion by Seep,
Seconded.
second by Fleming. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.